What are some common mistakes you see newer project managers or just project managers in general, even older ones, make in their everyday work?
There are a lot of those, a lot of mistakes that
Of
get made.
course.
But I think
Of
the
course.
ones that come out to me are there's this thought of we know what we're doing. Let's rather than waste time planning it, let's just go do it. Why would I want to waste 3 or 4 days planning when that's 3 or 4 days worth of actual work I could have gotten done? And they don't understand that the time you invest in the planning gets paid multiple times back on the back end by not missing a deadline.
Yeah.
Time matters, right? So to me, it's about let's invest the time up front to plan so that we can make sure we're not going to have any liquidated damages incurred. And that's really part of it is taking the time to plan up front and also to involve your team. A lot of things that happens is people will say, well, look, I'm the expert. I've been doing this forever. I don't need to bring in Joe and Bob and Jill. I'll just plan the thing without them. And I know what they're doing and I'll assign the right duration for it. And that's not the way to go because you need the team to be self-accountable, hold themselves accountable to things, and also the team members to be mutually accountable. So to push each other. And, my dad is retired now, but for years he was a superintendent on large industrial projects. He built Owens Corners fiberglass plants and gold mines. And, so one day I asked him, I said, Dad, when you say you're a superintendent, what does that really mean? What do you do? And he says, well, son, every day I get my cup of coffee, he says, and I walk the job. He says, and I know the flow of the job. Now, in my world, we would call that the critical path of the project. But he says, I know the flow of the job, and I know on any given day what needs to be done today for us to open the plant doors 2 years from now. He said, so every day I get my cup of coffee. He says, and I walk the job, and I direct traffic. And I'll say, Joe, stop doing that. The most important thing we're getting at today is scaffolding. Go help Joanne with the scaffolding. He says, and I just do that every day. So I make sure we're ready to go. And I said, but Dad, that seems really inefficient. Wouldn't it make more sense to bring everybody together, build a plan? And so that on any given day, whether you're there or not, they can reach in the back pocket, pull out the schedule, know exactly what to work on that day. He looked at me for a really long time, and finally he smiled and said, no, because I want to walk the job every day with my cup of coffee. So for my dad, that was called job security. And I love my dad. That is not how you do projects. To me, in my world, a good project manager could disappear for 6 weeks and it wouldn't matter because people know what to do. They built the plan, they're a part of it, and they know exactly what has to be done to what level of quality and what gets done each day. So I love me. If you see my dad, don't tell him I told you that story, by the way, because he hates when I tell that story, but it's a true story. So I think that's probably two of the things is don't be afraid to spend the time, invest the time up front planning, but let the team participate. Don't be the expert because they need to learn as well. It's a leadership thing. It's a growth opportunity. They need to understand how it all fits together. And as human beings, we love to live in silos. I'm an engineer and I tend to want to hang out with other engineers because I get to see, I think we all took calculus in college and it's a shared bond we have. And I love my Navy guys and, we like to be around people just like us. And you have to pull yourself out of that silo and talk to the other people, in our case, the other trades. But you have to have a conversation because at the end of the day, if you show up to put your crane in place and that space is occupied by somebody else, you're in trouble. And so you want to coordinate and you have those conversations.